there's enough of us up here to kick things off. So let's do that. It's been a week since the last AMA. We've got TJ up here to share some updates. At the same time, as always, the name of these events literally Ask Me Anything. So we've got the AMA questions channel, which should be open. I already see a couple of questions in there. So anything that you want to know, just drop your questions in there and we'll get to them progressively throughout this call. As always, there will probably be a couple of airdrops in the verified holders channel throughout. I think TJ is probably going to start out with a bit of an overview, an update of what's going on behind the scenes development-wise, plans for the coming weeks. And then, if you do have any questions that aren't answered, you can drop them in the questions channel and we'll get to them as soon as possible. Good to see a few more people filtering in. But with that, hand it over to TJ. We've also got Jacob up here on the stage for any more technical development questions. But TJ, if you want to let us know what's going on in the world of ARC these days.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I just want to say I'm glad to be back doing an AMA. It's been a minute since I've done one of those, and it's incredible to see the community still here through this market and through just what everyone's going through personally. I'm really stoked to see that we still have a strong community. But as far as an overview of what's been going on the past couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking about development. I'm going to be talking about the marketplace, the reactor, and I honestly feel like there's a lot to be positive about. As far as development, we've been tweaking and optimizing things with the marketplace and the reactor, which I'm going to let Nick speak to specific timelines, has garnered a lot of interest with smart money. And rightfully so. I mean, as you guys know, it increases development time at an insane rate. It makes the current methods of developing smart contracts obsolete, and a lot of people are interested in that. And as a result, we've been having a lot of talks internally. As far as the dev process in general, we've been working on optimizing our flow and optimizing current products, as well as creating business models around products we have about to come out, like the reactor, for example. As far as the team itself, we're scaling back a little bit just to conserve funds throughout this market. But by no means does that mean we're not going to be releasing products, and we aren't still making specific or really good headway on a lot of the products. Nick, do you want to add anything here? Do you want me to slow down or add to any other points?
I could talk about the timelines now, if you're happy for me to cover that off. Sure. Obviously, I'm sure everyone's aware that there have been one or two missed release deadlines. Turns out that building an NFT marketplace from scratch is a little complicated. But in any case, I'm sure you're all aware that as well, with the current market conditions, it's not necessarily the best time to release anything. A lot of the existing marketplace volumes are way down. A lot of the projects that we're working closely with also expressing their concerns about the point of deploying marketing budgets right now when everyone's a little bit scared regarding the market. In particular, there's a couple of projects that I've kind of been following who have been deploying a bit of marketing. So I've been watching what happens to them. There was one that had several YouTubers lined up to create content for them. I think like combined following 800,000 and genuine following, right? There's a lot of accounts out there that have a lot of bots, but these were pretty genuine accounts, and there was literally no effect on token price because
slaughtered.
Obviously right now people are a bit conservative. They're kind of waiting for, I think there was a Fed meeting just recently, was it? So, events like that to see which way the market's going to go. Inflation, obviously, you can't put tokens in your car's fuel tank or eat them. So when it comes down to that, there's a lot of selling pressure for people who are concerned to just try and make ends meet with inflation and all of that. So with all that being said, I think the marketplace release is from this point onwards going to consider the rocky development road so far, and it's unlikely that it will be completed in I would say like the short-term immediate future, as in the next week or two. Part of the reason is because of extra work that's going to be needing to go into it. The other part is that reactor is going to be brought up. So Henry has been spending a lot of work on the marketplace, trying to fix different bits and pieces up. But as I understand it, his particular skills are best suited to making this reactor. So that's what he's going to pivot back to. As CJ mentioned, there is a lot of interest and more profitable interest for the project in terms of utilizing the reactor. If you saw the recent tweet that went out, obviously other projects just like ARC are perhaps having to consider their expenditure, cut costs where possible, certainly not looking to scale up. You see projects out there like Coinbase or whoever cutting large portions of their staff away. And obviously what 20%. That means is, less resource available for that project to create their own products. So if they can outsource to something like the ARC reactor to generate smart contracts for them, it's a lot more efficient. And it's certainly a win-win with part of the revenue coming back to ARC. So that's why that decision was made. I'm really keen to move away from these kind of rolling 2-week dates and delays. So there's unlikely to be much more specificity around exact dates until products are essentially complete and ready to release. So that's what... it's probably what you can expect going forwards. I'll pass it back to TJ if you wanted to have anything to add, or maybe talk about some of the other things we've been doing.
And I wanted to add a note for the NFT marketplace, guys. It's not complete negativity. I mean, as Nick mentioned, he's essentially done case studies over these large projects that have huge budgets, and I mean, a budget of $100,000 might only go as far as a budget of $1,000 would have gone a couple of months ago. Obviously, that's hyperbole, but point taken that marketing and releasing NFT collections in this market while Bitcoin's continuing to drop just isn't very fortuitous. And like Nick said, we're focusing on optimizations. We're focusing on just completing the product even further, so it will be able to withstand and will be able to thrive when the market comes back, and of course when our partners want to list as well and mint and do anything with it. But yeah, speaking to the reactor, as Nick mentioned, there's a lot of interest in that. I know we're already working on some deals, making smart contracts for people, and I mean, as far as the timeline, Nick, am I like how? I think we should get Henry on to demo, and then we'll be able to talk timeline. But it's very exciting, the progress we made, to say the least, on it.
Yeah, considering it's literally all new tech, right? You can't even kind of compare against other existing products out there. Let alone kind of copy any open source code or anything like that. It has to be completely built from scratch. It sounds like there's already been a lot of progress made, but given the complexity of the build and the fact that Henry has been working on some fixes for the marketplace lately, precise timelining is hard to. But in the past few days he has been considering that it would probably be good to get Henry on to do a demo and let him have an update. But we're probably realistically not talking about a release this month for the reactor. but we can maybe provide some more information when we get Henry on towards the end of June.
Yep. Well, did we want to move towards AMA questions now?
Yeah, there's a few coming in. I can probably cover off a couple of them. So, third-party NFT analytics. Have you considered making an analytic part, maybe direct on the marketplace? And yeah, I think that was something that was brought up during one of the AMAs that we had with maybe it was ABK. Can't quite remember who. There were a few of them over the past few months or so. But yeah, definitely something that we want to do. We see that is kind of an area of the market that would further help to differentiate the ARC NFT marketplace from competitors. It may be something that could be offered for free, or maybe based on holding a certain number of ARC tokens. But in any case, it is something we'd like to do. I think probably not a priority right now, though. Priorities would be Reactor and getting the phase 1 marketplace out, and then getting the phase 2 marketplace out. So that would certainly keep the team busy between that and maintaining existing products for the next several weeks before there'd be any chance to look at that kind of analytics. But yeah, it's certainly something quite promising. So here we go. A question about the market being as it is, inflation looking to get a bit worse. Analysts talking about a bear market for 2 to 3 years. Wow. Team has mentioned being able to finance a year or so operations currently. An extended downturn in the market and user adoption. Would there be a need to change the ARC operating model in order to last that longer period? Maybe TJ, you want to talk about this, but I know that some steps have already been taken to ensure the viability of the project, and potentially further steps still could be taken. And then as a third point, the Reactor model, which is kind of uniquely suited to this kind of time in the market.
Yeah. I mean, projects that stay alive through these markets, they continue to build. I mean, that's what we plan to fuel. So speaking to the Reactor being done over the next 3 to 4 months to where people can use that, we are planning to have that as a revenue source. As I also mentioned earlier, there is people that, I mean, we're talking high finance institutional money, smart money, that is interested in the Reactor as well, and interested in our company in general. So fundraising is another potential option that we can look at. And then as far as 2 to 3 years, as you mentioned in the first part of that paragraph, we are targeting that a little bit over a year with our current model. But we can definitely extend out to 2 or 3 with revenue coming in from the Reactor, fundraising coming in, or I mean, let's say it just neither of those things works out. I still think we could extend through 2 or 3 years. But I mean, by then we should have revenue from the Reactor, and likely to hit fundraising at some point. And then just to add a little bit more detail about the Reactor, so I didn't delve into this fully earlier. It essentially works at an internal level right now. It's just hosting it online and creating specific contracts for the revenue share and the SaaS type model around it is what we're working on finishing up. I know right now we can pull, if anyone's familiar with Synapse, they're a huge bridge protocol. We could pull all of their code and upload it into a smart diagram with thousands of logic arrays, like literally in less than 3 seconds. And then we can add functions to it, remove functions. There are hundreds of lines of code with the click of a button. Yeah, I mean, it's some pretty exciting stuff, and we should have Henry. Henry and I should be on a call sometime later this month where we'll host a live demo of it as well, so you guys can see what we're talking about. But yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, looking forward to a demo. That would be pretty cool. So there's another question about, well, some related questions, I guess. Whether the project is profitable, when we could see consistent cash flow, if there's a very large bear market, how long could ARC continue to develop? I think those questions were kind of covered off in what TJ has just said. Another question about marketplace. So, could we expect phase 2 to release along with phase 1? You're holding off to continue development. The answer to that is definitely no. So phase 1 is not completed. Henry has been helping to fix up bugs that would enable phase 1 to launch. But with him being pulled off back to the reactor, that means that there will be less development resource, or I guess more specifically less development resource of Henry's caliber able to finish the marketplace. So it's certainly going to take longer than even the timeline when he was on it. As a result, it's going to be still a little bit of time until that phase 1 is built up before any thought can be given to phase 2. However, one benefit of getting the reactor out is that if phase 2 is not complete by then, it's possible to use the reactor to expedite some of the smart contract work. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I'm not sure exactly how much smart contract work specifically is required for phase 2, but it'll certainly help. Let me put it this way: it'll help ARC to complete any other development work that will come out or be required after the reactor is launched.
Yeah, and as we delve further into having AMAs live with this reactor, I mean, you guys are going to see the potential, and as Nick said, it's going to expedite any work we're doing with smart contracts in the future. And yeah, with phase 2, I can speak to it right now that it is pretty smart contract heavy. So with the reactor being able to use that, it's going to help that along. But okay, Kraken, I see your question here. How would outside money investment impact current ARC holders from a dilution perspective? I could say right now that outside investment, it would increase everyone's holdings here. I mean, we'd only enter into terms with people that want to hold for 2 years or more. We'd have a vesting term that would stretch that long. And then also with that comes connecting to people in Silicon Valley. It comes connecting to their marketing resources, connecting to groups like A16Z, which works with a lot of the big projects in the space, which just brings more clout, generally speaking. So not only are you going to have a higher valuation in your own holdings, for example, by someone investing in ARC and holding long term, you're also going to have an increased valuation perspective from overall macro sentiment and people knowing about our project and using it, which it's hard to price in. But I mean, let's say one project starts using our reactor and then they tell 5 people. Well, being it's so innovative, I mean, let's say 5 people start using it and then they hand it off. It just kind of snowballs. Can't really track that, but a curve like that, it's exponential and valuation would increase multiple ways. Arc Reactor being such a game changer, it seems. Has any large VC and potential large prospects contacted you to enter negotiations? From ArcSan. I mean, Nick, should we release a little bit of like what? How do we want to answer this one?
I guess we can talk about that, but I suppose we're not allowed to name names at this stage, right? But yeah, I could definitely talk about the process, I guess, and the fact that there already has been 1 or 2 kind of people reaching out without naming names.
And that's just 1 or 2 to me. I mean, there's been several that have reached out to our team in general that have tried to get in contact. And of course, with that process, there's even been, a little bit going a little bit further, some potential talks where we're actually delving into it past just the intro phase. So some exciting stuff. Yoda-san, is the plan to still have a new CTO and have Henry focus on the reactor? No, Henry is our CTO. He's going to focus on the reactor, and with that, he's going to be able to force multiply himself with any future product. Are you going to start using the reactor to improve the ARC platform? Yes. Nick, do you want to cover off any of these other ones, or should we bring Jacob in? I see Jacob's been in this call and he's just being quiet.
I think he's kind of on standby in case there's any tech questions, but I see one last question, at least so far, talking about dilution and increasing the max float above 1 billion units, which, as Rido mentioned, is not possible. So there'll only ever be 1 billion ARC tokens.
Yeah. The tokens that we would negotiate when it comes to institutional funds and VCs would be tokens that are in the lockup period now, which just goes to show how dedicated we are to the project. And as you guys know, we're locked in for over 2 years. So when I say 2 years, it's literally going to be 2 years. They're going to have to negotiate with tokens coming out of Unicrypt.
Well, if there's any more questions, or should I say any more questions that are not WinMoon, feel free to drop them in the questions channel. Let me just see if there's anything else we had to cover off. That may have been it, really. Now it says several people are typing. I wonder how many people are typing WinMoon. But yeah. Okay, we've got a good question here. With the delay to the marketplace, will it now include things like whitelisting ability for projects, price charts for collections and individual items, numbering of items in the collection when it launched, or are those still going to be later? So similar to a previous question, while kind of, I guess, the market conditions are a factor, it's more of a convenient one than anything else. The primary reason for the delay is to fix outstanding issues with the marketplace. So with developers focused on that, there won't be any scope to add additional functionality or kind of accelerate other parts of the marketplace, at least until the reactor's out. And then anything that requires smart contract work will be able to be kind of expedited, whether that's phase 2 or additional functionality. But again, it also depends on when that reactor is released, and perhaps we may want to be using it initially on other areas, or to build things for other projects, which will help to bring in much needed revenue. I thought there was something else. No. That's it.
Can I just jump in quickly, Nick?
Yeah.
Just on that specific question there, with does it include things like the whitelisting or the price charts, etc. You guys saw the walkthrough we did of the marketplace. As far as what the kind of general user sees from the front of the marketplace, that all still looks great. Like everything looks great there. It's not us doing huge delays for like front end style fixes that are, we need to change the border radius of this. It's like very, very, very specific stuff. Like, for example, your internet connection all of a sudden halves while you're in the middle of a transaction. So what happens to the back end? Okay, so now we've added a Morales listener that ensures that NFT will transfer to your wallet, etc., all that kind of stuff. So it's really trying to think of all those 737,000 different use cases, obviously hyperbole, of things that could happen, and ensuring that we've got those covered, rather than you guys, using the marketplace and then all of a sudden we're like, should have thought of that, So that's the process.
So it's like fixes / optimizations. We don't want to release a product that has a ton of bugs on launch. So yeah, I mean, we're just literally going through every possible scenario, like Jacob said, and getting those fixed up. Kraken. Okay, last question. So if you sell locked up tokens to an institution, where does that ETH go? Is that ETH locked up as well for the same period? If you're talking about the money that would go to us, I mean, it would go to our multi-sig, and then we would have an agreement like a SAF node, an allocation for future tokens, in which the tokens would be vested out to them with the same term that the Unicrypt tokens would be vested out in the percentage that they would receive for their investment.
All right. I'm trying to find, there was a question about Ryan. I think he's all good as far as I'm aware. Continuing to recover. Don't know if where did George go? George may have been in touch with him recently. Yeah, he might. There he is. I'll bring him up on the stage. But in the meantime, here we go. Will the marketplace have the ability to auto-aggregate, in a sense, every new collection released on OpenSea? So if a project goes live with a listing on OpenSea right after mint, would the project be available to buy via the Arc marketplace? This is probably a good question for Jacob. So I believe the functionality that we're working on would enable that project to be displayed on Arc in terms of like an aggregation feature, and then if the user wanted to purchase, they could click through and fulfill that transaction on OpenSea or whatever platform that would be kind of the initial release of that functionality. But Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so initial functionality right now, just because this was something that we were speccing for very shortly upcoming features to kind of build onto the marketplace after our initial launch, is essentially you've got all collections that will be aggregated from OpenSea, and then essentially we can you can just type any collection that's existing on OpenSea already into the search bar. It's going to pull that through the OpenSea API, and then it will open up in an Arc branded collection template on our marketplace, pulling all the metadata from that collection. So, for example, if it's Bored Apes, just for example, not affiliated with us at all, it would have their image, it would have all their NFTs, but they wouldn't be in a nutshell in Arc. It would be you can access them and then list them on the Arc marketplace, because obviously all NFTs are, they're accessible from absolutely everywhere. It's the blockchain. That currently isn't in the marketplace because we still need to add the aggregation feature in there. However, we have the top 100 collections already imported into our marketplace. We just need to add the aggregation feature so that everything will be in there. But yes, in a nutshell, you will be able to auto aggregate absolutely everything that already exists on ERC 721 and 1155 contracts in the future. Hopefully that answers it.
Okay, so we've got another couple of questions about the marketplace. So Arc plans to hold sales and distribute to the selling project instead of having the revenue transferred directly to the project. Is that because of technicalities or Arc regulations? Not sure if you understand that question, Jacob. As far as I'm aware, when an NFT is sold on the marketplace, the funds go directly to the project
through the smart contract.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find the question. Sorry, which one was this one?
Fourth from the bottom from Arcsan. But yeah, maybe yeah. Let us know if it's not clear, Jacob. We could ask Arcsan to kind of clarify or come up on the stage or whatever.
If someone buys an NFT, CryptoWalks just said something. Instead of the only 1% going to ARC, the entire fee goes to ARC rather than directly to the seller. No. Okay, so how the contract works, if I'm understanding your question right, is if someone buys an NFT, there's the 1% fee that goes to ARC. The balance goes to whoever's selling it, and if the collection owner has a royalty fee that's already priced in because they may have created their collection on the ARC marketplace, then that royalty fee, let's just say it's 1.5%, is going to get paid out to the collection creator as well. I'm just rereading the question. I think that's what you're asking. But if it doesn't cover that, Arcsan, yeah, here CryptoWalk and Arcsan are typing, so we'll see.
In the meantime, maybe we can go through another couple of these questions. So, security of Reactor and Marketplace. Well, I guess there's audits there. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe for Reactor, it's best to let Henry answer that. I understand literally nothing about how that works, so perhaps that's another.
Well, speaking at the 30,000-foot view, Henry has developed products that millions of people use today. He's very familiar with industry best practices for security. He's very familiar with all the different types of encryption, and even white hat hacking. It's pretty much going to be as secure as something can be. But he'll be able to speak to the technicalities of that when we have him on a call later on.
Okay, and then one of the front-end issues with the marketplace is related to bandwidth. Is that part of the optimization? I recall there was a discussion about thumbnails and stuff, right, Jacob? I think that's what that question is kind of
as far as kind of like load time and such.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we've implemented like mass pagination into the marketplace. So yeah, that'll allow huge collections to load. In saying that as well, we found that we did some experimenting with using some really high quality GIFs versus really high quality video, and just overall video just performs way better. So just for the future, when you guys are thinking of when you are creating your collections, we highly recommend just exporting as like beautiful high resolution video, and because that's just going to auto loop, so it'll look exactly the same as how you might expect a GIF to look. It's just a video version, and it's going to render and play back. And it's not. I mean, it's not a problem when you're looking at 1 or 2 or 10 items. It's when you've got 8,888 that you're trying to load within a collection. That's when things get messy.
Okay, and then we've got when can we expect new development update series? I think with the update in development priorities, and we can probably start getting today, Wednesday, either updates out towards the end of this week or early next week. What else have we got? Bulk buy option for the marketplace. Don't know if that's I don't think that's speaked out for phase 2, so it may be a future future edition, but that's that like add to cart functionality, right? So you can select multiple NFTs and then purchase them in one transaction. Should certainly be helpful when gas is high. Sounds like maybe a smart contract, so that could be something the reactor could help with. And then team tokens will start.
Sorry, you go, Nat.
What was that?
Question about team tokens will start getting distributed from September. Let's assume most of the team members dump their tokens. Would we survive? I mean, first of all, in terms of survival, it's completely separate from the price of the token, right? Funds that are held by the project are in stable currency, not linked to the movement of the ARC token. Revenue generated by the NFT marketplace, by Reactor. Similarly, there's no link to the ARC token, so survival is not really linked to the price of ARC, I guess, is one way you could put that. And then, so were you going to cover off the kind of clarifications, Jacob, in terms of that topic about funds moving around?
So Arxan, just to cover your question there, if you are minting on the ARC contract specifically, it's the best setup as far as like understanding what's going on the smart contract. Like, it's, you know how like if you check out a smart contract, sometimes it is really confusing what's actually happening behind the scenes, because there might be money moving a million different places, and then it's really only good just going to another wallet. In the ARC contracts, if a creator creates a collection, and let's just say it's got a royalty fee as well of 2%, if someone purchases that NFT, what will happen is the money will go directly to whoever is selling it. So if the creator owns it right at the start and they're selling all of their NFTs, the money is going directly to the creator. You can see it in the Etherscan transaction. Like, there is no discrepancy at all of where those funds are going. And same with royalty fees, and same with the ARC fee. You can see absolutely everything moving within that Etherscan transaction. If someone was saying that, like, the turn-off in discussions was that ARC would hold the initial revenue, that's just not the case, and it doesn't work. I mean, that sounds more like someone maybe trying to negotiate like a specific partnership deal or something, because that's above my head. But as far as functionality of the contracts and how everything actually works, it goes to whoever is selling it. The funds do. So hopefully that answers that.
Maybe, Jacob, you could also touch on the follow-up bandwidth question.
I'm just reading that now. So right now we can we've had instances where we've got 75 megabit videos and there's like 8,000 of them. With our pagination currently, we can load those and load them relatively fast, and you don't even need to have like a supercomputer or anything at all, which is really cool. Thumbnailing is definitely something we want to bring in, though, to optimize even further in the very short term as well. But yes, that maths does make sense. People had loads of issues displaying the marketplace on mobile due to huge bandwidth. That's another thing as well. Our primary number one right now has been for desktop, because the majority of users would be using desktop. And then we will, not to say that we're ignoring mobile, we are definitely developing on mobile as well. It's just obviously the experience is going to be much different on a desktop, and if most of the people are on desktop, we just have to make decisions where we focus efforts, I guess. But that's not me ruling out mobile at all. We're definitely still working on mobile. It's just desktop is #1 priority, and thumbnailing will be coming out. It just isn't developed yet.
All right. Well, with that, I think it's time to wrap up the AMA. Thanks everyone for joining us once again, and we will keep these going weekly, probably around about the same kind of day and time, and we will also endeavour to get a dev progress update out between now and the next AMA. There's a final question from Justin. Will staff still be paid in ARC, or will it be paid in stable to reduce sell pressure? As far as I'm aware, pay for the last several weeks, if not months, has been in stable tokens, so no concerns there. I don't think there are any plans to pay anything in ARC. So
and when we're talking about runway and how much longer we're going to have funds, we're not talking from an ARC perspective. That's from stable. So, but thanks everyone for coming on. Glad to be here.
All right, we'll catch you guys on the next one.